So it's happened. It's finally happened. The Apple April 20th 420 event, and a lot of stuff was announced at this event, most notably the purple iPhone 12. Well, yeah, there were AirTags and an iMac and an iPad Pro that all came out at this event, so let's talk about those. So let's start off with AirTags, and these have been rumored and leaked for an exceptionally long time. And they're finally here, and they cost 30 bucks. A single AirTag is worth 30 bucks. That is kind of pricey. There is a 4-pack, I think, for $100 US. And basically what these are sort of like little circular devices, fairly small, and you can just sort of stick it onto something, or you can buy some of Apple's accessories, some of which cost more than the AirTag itself, and you can find all of these through the Find My app. And I forgot, there's also the Hermes version of the AirTags and accessories, which is like 500 times the price of a regular AirTag or its accessory itself. There's also something called precision tracking, where if you have an iPhone with a U1 chip, so the iPhone 11 or later, it'll basically use that to directly guide you to your AirTag. Like if you go into the Find My app, you'll be able to see exactly how far you need to go. Now moving on, we also saw a new Apple TV 4K that's powered by none other than the A12. It's got some improvements in terms of being able to display HDR content. Plus, you can also calibrate the color settings of the TV itself through your iPhone and the Apple TV, I think. Like you just sort of hold it up to the TV and then it'll do this sort of color calibration thing. The new Apple TV also supports the PlayStation 5's DualSense controller as well as the Xbox Series X controller. We also got a new Siri remote with the Siri button being on the side, much like your iPhone. Also with a new redesigned ClickPad touchpad thing. But now let's get to the real juice of the content, of the announcements that we got today. And that is a new iMac and a new iPad Pro. So both of these have one major thing in common, and that is the M1 chip that is powering both of them. I've got to say, I am not 100% on board with the new design. I definitely love it from the back and the sides. I really like how much thinner it's gotten, looks more premium. But when it comes to the front, those bezels, I'm not really sure if it's an entire improvement over the previous, because I mean, we had pretty chunky bezels with the previous iMacs, and it has gotten thinner from the top and the sides, but the chin. But the display is great. It's a 24-inch 4.5K Retina display. It is a 1080p HD FaceTime camera. It's got a 6-speaker audio system, so pretty powerful. It's also got, I think, studio quality mic. It does come in 7 colors. You can configure it with up to 2 terabytes of storage and 16 gigs of RAM. Kind of a disappointment, only 16, but then again, this is the entry-level model. Or wait, actually kind of isn't, because Apple is still selling the base 21.5-inch iMac with the dual-core 7th Gen i5. It's still $1,100 US. Don't buy that. Whatever you do, do not buy that model. That is a completely outdated model. You're not going to get anything from it. Go for a Mac Mini or a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro instead. And one more tiny bad thing, the 24-inch iMac comes in 2 versions, so you got the base and the higher end version, and the base comes with only 2 Thunderbolt/USB 4 ports. That really kind of sucks. It also comes in only 4 colors as opposed to 7 colors. Oh, and this iMac supports Wi-Fi 6 as well. We also got a couple accessories worth mentioning as well. We got color matched Magic Mice 2 to go with this iMac, as well as a new Magic Keyboard, which it's got Touch ID in the Magic Keyboard itself. But again, a bad thing about this is that this only comes with the higher end 24-inch iMac, which is a literal pain. Also, a quick tip, if you are planning on buying this iMac or any M1 Mac in general, you cannot upgrade your RAM in any way, shape, or form. Because it's all unified within the M1 chip itself, you can't upgrade it in any sort of way. And last but not least, we got a new iPad Pro, which showed some pretty significant upgrades from the previous one. This is again powered by the M1 chip, which I don't think that's what most of us were expecting. This new iPad Pro did not see an increase in ports, but we did get Thunderbolt. We got Thunderbolt on the USB-C port, which is going to allow for even faster transfer times, I think, and actual support for Thunderbolt accessories like Thunderbolt hubs. We also got 5G, which probably doesn't really matter that much on an iPad, especially right now, but in a couple years time it'll probably matter a bit more, even if it's not the primary user, because obviously iPads have pretty good longevity, and these iPad Pros are bound to last, I'd say, another 4 to 6 years at the minimum. The bigger 12.9-inch iPad Pro does come with mini LED as expected, which allows for Pro Display XDR-like specs to come to the iPad Pro. So it's got, I think, 1000 nits brightness and 1600 nits peak brightness with HDR, and it also has a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio. The 11-inch didn't get mini LED, but it still got a pretty good display. They're both also still 120Hz ProMotion displays. Now, speaking a bit about cameras, and not the back cameras. The back cameras, I think, remain unchanged from last year, but there's a new thing that's come to the front camera. First off, it's got an upgrade from 7 megapixels to 12 megapixels, and it's an ultra-wide camera, so it's got a 122-degree field of view. But there's also this new feature called Center Stage, and essentially what it's like is when you're on a video call, I don't know if it's only on FaceTime, but what it'll do is, rather than use the 122-degree field of view by default, it'll crop in and it'll focus on you, and let's say I walk around this way and I walk around that way, it'll sort of pan and follow you. And then if somebody else enters the frame, it'll widen up to include both of you in the frame. Now, obviously we don't have this in our hands yet, so we can't really tell if it's a really cool software feature or just a plain old gimmick. But if it isn't, then I think that this is a pretty cool feature, especially for people who like to have their iPad, or they like to be on a video call while also doing other things. As for the M1, well, I'm gonna expect it to do pretty well. Though I suspect it will be a bit weaker on the iPad just because obviously you have a bit less space to work with, but it'll probably still offer pretty good performance. Definitely much more of a noticeable difference between that and the A14 now. I think this will score around at least 7,000 in the multi-core department, but this will also create a lot of confusion in the iPad Pro versus M1 MacBook Air thing now, because since both of them have M1, it's really now more of, I guess, preference. Which brings us to the accessories. So we did not see a new Apple Pencil or Magic Keyboard that were announced, but we did get the Magic Keyboard in a white color, while the Apple Pencil just remained the same. Nothing new there. There's also a 2TB storage option for the iPad Pro, with up to, I think, 16 gigs of RAM. Apple did also make a couple Apple Card enhancements, I believe, and it did offer a subscription podcast, so not an Apple Podcast Plus subscription service, but now podcasts can offer subscriptions, so you have to pay. And that is pretty much everything new at the Apple Spring Loaded event. So let me know down in the comments below which device or product you are most hyped for and which one you might be planning on getting. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you are still here, thank you for making it up till this point in the video. And if you did enjoy, please do leave a like and subscribe. And that's pretty much it for me.